Welcome back to Common Ground, an inside look at Suffolk County. I'm your host, Sheriff Steve Tompkins. Now, on this side of the program, we have an extraordinary young lady here, Deirdre Houtmeyers, who is from St. Mary's Center for Women and Children, and she's going to talk to us about all of the great and wonderful things that they're doing up there for young ladies and moms and families, and addressing some of the serious needs that they have. And clearly, as you know from watching this program, that is really something that is near and dear to our hearts here at the Sheriff's Department, first and foremost. Domestic violence is something that should never happen. Youth violence clearly is something that needs to be addressed. But then when you extrapolate that out and look at the need for more resources for detox and mental health, and when you don't have that, we become the de facto detox and mental health centers. And so what they're doing at St. Mary's is just extraordinary work. And Deirdre, thank you so much, first and foremost, for coming on and talking to us about what it is that you're getting done there.
Thank you for having me, Sheriff Tompkins. St. Mary's, I actually am new to St. Mary's. I started in September. I had a long career at St. Elizabeth's, and I ran the substance abuse addiction program.
Great facility.
Yeah, great facility, CCAP. And then now St. Mary's really, you know, it's just a wonderful place in terms of understanding trauma-informed care for these women and these families. So we have 7 programs, and they're all integrated in a way that really provides an opportunity for these women and families to break generations of poverty in a way that's successful and sustainable. The tools that they need to be able to manage finances, get work, a job opportunity that doesn't pay $8 an hour at Dunkin' Donuts, because you can't sustain an apartment at that. So really there's a Women's Learning Center in which we have a wonderful computer lab that the ladies and the teens can use to learn computer skills. Without those, it's really hard to get any
especially in the 21st
job.
Century.
Absolutely, right. And a lot of these women have had difficulty in school for an array of reasons. For example, undiagnosed learning disability. So school wasn't really a great place for them. Right. So we have a volunteer that comes in and does an evaluation and identifies learning disabilities and educates the women that you learn differently, and that kind of self-esteem building allows them.
Let me ask you a two-part question. I don't mean to cut you off. So now, when you talk about learning disabilities, one, is it easy to diagnose? And then talk to me about the degree of difficulty once it's diagnosed to help these ladies get over that learning disability. So first, is it easy to diagnose when a person has a learning disability?
I don't know that it's easy, but there are tests. There's science, they're evidence-based, proven tests that can really you know, examine and extrapolate some information to really measure up, does this person learn differently? And we all have different learning styles. It's not rocket science, but it is a lengthy process, and it really involves having individuals tested on several different tests.
I see.
So it's costly if you're paying for it. Children can get it in schools not as often as they should because of the cost. So our women, the second piece of that is many of them are adults. So school even has been not a great environment. So, but getting that information, at least it gives them understanding of why school was not, you know, everyone, go to school, it was so great.
And it wasn't because, you know, you're dumb, it was because you have a disability.
Exactly, right. The dumb thing is so ingrained, and how do you undo that tape? So there's equivalency, high school equivalency, tutoring and examination. There is high school opportunities, and college. Bunker Hill actually comes on campus and teaches a 4-credit college course in allied health. We try to look at the industries that are hiring, and women can get jobs, and healthcare clearly will all, you know, usually, or computer. And our partners that allow our women to do work studies, like State Street, Blue Cross, Kearney, the Beth Israel, various different, Corcoran Management. Do they want to property manage? They want to, so then they get internships, you know, stipend and, you know, a little bit of money. That's because great. I think that helps.
But what's equally as important is that experience that they're getting.
The experience.
You know, I'm from the school of hard knocks, or the school of experience, and when you're doing it, I mean, look, I don't discount textbook learning. That's great. But when you're actually doing it on a day in, day out basis, I think you're apt to pick it up a little bit quicker and retain it a lot longer because you've done it.
You've done it.
Right.
Experiential learning, and many of these women get hired because they're hardworking. They hit the ground running. So it's just a wonderful opportunity.
So does your organization actually have a job placement component?
Yes. Yeah, we do. You know, for our residents and for our women that come into the Women's Learning Center, yes, we do, and they are really sought after. The Pastoral Center is now joining. We're looking for additional partners to come and help these women to get some exposure to computer skills and so forth. One of our graduates last year, in January actually, is going to nursing school.
Whoa.
You know.
That's not an easy thing to do, so she must, no, not nursing school,
She worked hard.
She has
children. She's an older woman, but she's getting it.
Yeah,
so, you know, kudos to her.
How many families or how many women and families can you serve at one time? You said that you have a place where they can come and stay?
Right, so we have 3 residential programs as well. One is Margaret's House is our largest program. It's 32 families. And they're there anywhere from 6 months to a year. It's really stabilization in a sense. They come through DTA from a motel or hotel. They come and stay with us. They work out any kind of financial obligations. We help them to manage their budget. We give them, you know, the clinical work that they need, the trauma-informed care, as I said, work and employment and education opportunities. And then when they leave, we case manage them for 18 months.
See, it's the aftercare.
It's the aftercare.
It's the aftercare that's critically important, and we find the same thing at the Sheriff's Department. What we're trying to do now is work parole, probation, DYS, and the trial courts to say, look, clearly once they are out of our custody, they're no longer under our jurisdiction. That said, we'd like to be able to retain a relationship with these folks so that if they fall off, whether they have a job, housing, health care, call us. Let us put you in touch with the appropriate social service agency, because what we find is in the absence of that, they're going to do something that may land them right back in. It's the aftercare. Without the aftercare, it's almost as if all the work that you did while they were with you kind of goes out the window if you can't stay with them.
That is very true.
You find the same thing?
Absolutely. The case management and being a resource and providing that support is critical. I really, because I think you go from this very structured, supportive environment to on your own. You've got the children, you're trying to get them to daycare, you have to get a job. You know, it's hard for all of us to do that. And when you come out of a homelessness kind of environment, very difficult. So the case management is, I would say, critical.
It reminds me of when I was in grad school, I did my thesis on, well, what used to be the Department of Social Services, now it's Department of Children and Families. And what I was looking at is what happens to these kids once they age out. Okay, where do they go? Because what we find is a lot of these kids either get in trouble and go to jail, fall into drugs, or get pregnant. The young ladies get pregnant, you know, and the dads, you know, have kids. And so what we were looking at is, okay, so they age out at 18, but what happens then? My understanding is now what they're doing is that if the youth ask for permission to stay, they can stay up to the age of 22, but they have to either be looking for employment or have employment or going to school. You know,
that's correct.
If they're not doing one of those things, I guess they don't let them back in. But you know what, at 18, I remember 18, you're crazy at 18, you're young, you have no idea what to expect. And just to, if you come from a situation where you didn't have that nurturing family around you, just to be thrown out there, like it sounds like with some of these women, just to be thrown out there, you're gonna fall more than you're gonna be able to stay up.
Or you know, even and the women fall prey to exploitation, the young girls, and then the pregnancy, and that's St. Mary's Home. We have 18 beds for pregnant parenting teens, in which they learn about role modeling and parenting from, you know, from adults, caring adults, and it's just amazing to have them understand that this little 4-month-old isn't crying to just upset you. He's either wet or you know, hungry. But that understanding that and connecting that for them is really a process. So they're with us for even a longer stay.
You know, Deirdre, it's interesting that you say that. One of the first things that I did when I became sheriff is we have parenting programs for the young men, but we were only offering it once a week for 40 minutes, okay? For good or bad, I've got a captive audience. They're not going anywhere. I've got a full-blown education staff. Why aren't I offering this every day? I mean, these guys are making babies, but they don't know how to parent, so offer it every day. And so now we do. Offer it every day.
Wonderful.
And it really does make a difference. You know, like you said, the child is not crying because they just want to annoy you. There's a need that that child has. Now, when you say families, do you have the boys also, or is it just moms and girls?
No, we just have moms. Now, I do run a Crossroads in East Boston, which is, there are some men there, but at St. Mary's Center for Women and Children, it is just women.
Moms and girls.
Right, moms and girls, and children, right. We do have boys, young, you know, the boys' sons can be there, but not men.
No, that's what I meant. The boys, I mean the children, not the boyfriends or the husbands. I'm just talking about the children.
We do have boys.
Oh, good.
Yes, we do. We'll take both. Yeah. And then we do encourage the fathers to come in and really help them with parenting. Do men's groups. Absolutely.
Oh, that's really
you know, if they're going to reunite and we want that family to be strong and provide an environment for these children to thrive, then they have to understand parenting as much as the moms, because they have to co-parent, and that's been really, really working well. We have a couple of guys that work, you know, at St. Mary's, men, great role models, their fathers themselves. And
because young boys do need to see productive, vibrant men.
Absolutely.
So that they can emulate that,
you
know, and not some of the things that they may see in the movies about how men act, and they think that that's the way to go.
Exactly.
The way to go. Earlier this year, I was introduced to Girls Radio. And I understand, talk to me about Girls. Oh, look at you just bright now. Go ahead, talk to me about
Girls Radio was started years ago. I guess there was just a woman, you know, I forget exactly who was involved. Larry Mays and I think Mayor Menino.
Larry.
And this girl was, you know, they just started talking with her. She was sitting in City Hall or something and said, well, what do you need? And they said, we need something to do. And so Girls Radio was born as an opportunity for young teenage girls to learn self-esteem, media literacy, like really to discern and to understand the lyrics and what's the implications to some of the music,
that's right.
and to be respected, and how do you demand that? And so we're right now in the process of going out into the community and doing training. So we have 2 groups all year long, and a summer group, and then they're doing these conferences and.
Oh, no, it was great. We went up, and actually one of the young ladies that works in my communications department is a graduate of that program. She was actually in that program, and so they did the on-air interview. I mean, it was just awesome. I had a chance to sit around and just watch them do their thing, and they were just young ladies that were really serious about their craft, serious about the messages that they were getting out, and just also the camaraderie amongst each other.
Absolutely.
You know, and it was good to see how, you know, I would just say big sisters taking care of little sisters. They may not have been biologically attached, but big sisters taking care of little sisters and just teaching them the way. And I believe it's Bernadette.
Bernadette Reed, right?
Bernadette Reed, she's awesome.
Yes, great,
She's awesome,
right. And Shalea and Jayla.
That's right.
They are terrific.
Awesome role models.
Oh, absolutely. And they get the technical hands-on opportunity to work a radio station and see if that would be something, you know, radio equipment that they would like to do. And it streams on YouTube, Girls Radio.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot they are. That's right.
Right, and they pick the music and they do the interview. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, no, seriously. I mean, well, I thank Zakia on my staff and Ed Geary and these guys for telling me about it, just so that I can go up there. What we're trying to do at the Sheriff's Department is really be a really committed community partner.
Great.
Okay, because here's the thing. As I say, women are with us for maybe 6 to 8 months. Men are with us from anywhere from, say, 11 to 14 months. So they're going to go home, and they're going back to the communities. 95% of our population lives within 5 miles of where we're going. So the question then becomes, how do you want these folks to return home? The same as when they showed up on our doorstep, worse or better. Okay, but I believe that in the furtherance of our mission in trying to help these guys and these ladies is that it needs to be done holistically. And what I mean by that is I need social service agencies outside our walls to work with us, but I also need the families to work with us.
Yes.
In the absence of those 2 things, I mean, sure, we could just warehouse people,
right? But
at $46,000 per person, and we have over 1,500 on any given day, I think it's better to correct.
Exactly.
You know, our mandate is care, custody, and control. And so when I'm standing in front of communities, what I say is, I say, look, I start with custody. I explain, I said, if you look up the word custody, you'll have 2 definitions. One is imprisonment, which is what we do, but the other is guardianship. Right. And I think it's very important to look at that guardianship component to try to work with folks. And then we talk to folks and say, look, clearly you've lost your liberties, but if you had the opportunity to achieve, what is it that you want to do? You know, and we found that the utilization of vocational education, as well as going after your GED, because you should have
absolutely,
that.
right.
But we found that if you teach a guy or a lady how to, we have an urban farm, we're starting a culinary program, you teach them carpentry or landscaping, now they have a skill.
Exactly.
They can be self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
They can provide for their families.
Right.
And
have
that's
a feeling of self-worth and making a difference.
That is so important.
Right.
Do you talk about that in your counseling sessions? Do you talk about self-worth and self-esteem?
Absolutely, and really what that means and how to, and that kind of conversations is critical.
Do they understand what it means?
I think that in time, when they're nurtured and they feel safe over a period of time in a home where they feel like they don't have to watch their back constantly for whatever reason, I do believe they begin to settle in and feel okay. A lot of them have never felt safe, clearly never felt nurtured, cared for. So they come to us, and it's such, and I think, you walk around and you say it's a shelter, and everyone's smiling and hopeful and happy and safe. And that's really the
Safe
hallmark.
is important.
Safe is
especially
important.
when you talk about domestic violence.
Absolutely.
And having that sense of safety, And what we found on occasion is that crime or being incarcerated is almost something that's analogous to a caste system. We've had grandfathers, fathers and grandsons with us at the same time. Have you found generations of folks that you have to cater to?
Absolutely, and that's what we try to break. And even around, as you talk about the whole, in prison system, we've started an incarceration initiative where, it's wonderful. We just actually had a review on it. We met with women, we did 5 focus groups, and they are so anxious. Most of them have a loved one in jail. What does it mean to them? What does it mean to them to not have that person present? What does it mean to go and visit them? What does it mean to not have the father? And, all the processes around, how do you prepare to go into mostly the jails, and so forth. And they're saying, we want this to continue, we need this. I mean, so
you're talking to women that aren't incarcerated?
They're not. A loved one is incarcerated.
Oh, now that's interesting. I thought you were talking to incarcerated women.
No,
so you're talking to folks that are not.
Right.
But they have a friend or a family member.
Exactly. So we've started that, Some of them have been incarcerated, many of them, but really it was mostly around loved ones. And how is that absence in your life?
That's powerful.
Very powerful.
That is powerful. What we find here is clearly we have visitation. A lot of the women don't want visitation, or at least don't want their kids to come to visit.
Right.
Mom, dad, so on and so forth, boyfriend, husband, but they don't want their kids, which is understandable, frankly. They don't want their kids to see them in a jumpsuit, living in a box, behind bars and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I mean, have you gotten some powerful messages from these ladies?
Absolutely. And that some of them we're actually going to try to provide some, transportation's a barrier. And even when they go, some have been turned away for not having the proper clothes. I mean, all those issues. So we're trying to get all the information. If you're going to visit this place, this is the rules, this is the time, and try to get people there. So we're if people want to, what are the barriers to you visiting? Some people say, I don't want to visit.
No, but that's really
So we're
great.
working on that. That's the next phase.
Yeah.
So it's.
So now when you talk to the young ladies in your program that you're trying to get employed or are getting employed, you must have an attitude adjustment component. What we found, and the reason I ask is because what we found is as hard as we work on job placement, guys would go to the job site, but they've never really actually been on a job site, so they didn't understand punctuality or how to dress or how to comport themselves, when speaking to a superior. And we actually had to dial that back and put a component in that was just far beyond just resume writing and letter writing. This is how you act when you get there.
Exactly.
Well, this is how you get there on time.
Right,
first of all.
right. Early, little.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then this is how you act.
Right.
Do you find that you had to do that?
We have a huge women-to-women partnership, which is probably 100 women, and from various areas. We have them from Concord, from Acton, that just want to give back. I think they pay $150 a year to be a partnership, women's partnership. They do mock interviews. They dress for success. How do you interview? What do you want to say? How do you comport yourself? All that. That's critical to people walking in. Yes.
So these volunteers actually pay to be a part of it?
They pay, yes, to be a part of it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
To give back, to help these ladies out.
It is amazing how wonderful people are. That is what's really has struck me more than anything in my last few months there, how much people care about St. Mary's and the work there.
So how did you, now you were at St. E's for 34 years.
34 years,
How did
nurse,
you come to,
grew up there.
Yeah, how did you come to leave there to go on to St. Mary's? How did you become interested in that organization?
So I always loved women's issues. I had a, you know, I became certified in domestic violence just because I wanted to and someone needed to. You know, at the hospital we had a team, and even throughout the system we did the white ribbon, helping men to talk to men about stopping violence, just because I was passionate about it. As well as that, I had the substance abuse treatment program that I knew, and then mental health, because I did a lot with psychiatry. So I was really ready for the next level. And when this opportunity came, and I loved my job, I just thought, this is it's the dream job. I can't believe it. People say, what is your dream job? And I said, I've got it. So it's amazing. And the work that happens, it's miracles.
Yeah.
Miracles. And when people look at me and say, Deirdre, you know, I got the job, or I'm getting my apartment, and feeling good and confident when they leave that they're going to be okay, and they can always come back.
You know, so that's the interesting thing that about the job that I do at the Sheriff's Department. My background is in television production and communications. I never. In fact, some of my buddies back at home, I grew up in New York City, can't believe. They're like, dude, really? You're the sheriff?
Oh yeah.
How'd that happen?
Right.
But the thing about it is, I never worked in the public sector. I'd always worked in the private sector. But my predecessor and I went to Boston College together, and I know you're a Boston College alum. And she called when she became sheriff and asked me to come over to run her communications department. And I was reluctant to do it, but you know, what do you do if a friend asks? If you can help, you help.
Exactly.
And so I did, but what I found is that giving back that you're talking about, when you help people to achieve, and then you see them days or weeks or months later, and they're self-sufficient.
Exactly.
It's probably one of the most gratifying feelings you could possibly ever imagine having. It
Absolutely.
really is.
Right.
You know?
And they do, and that speaks to the wraparound services, to have someone successful, that case management, that financial, the interviewing, and how do you go for a job, all those some people take for granted. No, that is stuff that, and I think that's what St. Mary's has done, identified obstacles to achieve, to overcome before they can be successful, and that's what we do every day there.
You know, but see, so here's the thing about community, right? You probably remember way back in the day, growing up in the community. I grew up in a housing project in East Harlem, but everybody knew everybody.
Right.
I mean, everybody knew everybody. I lived in a building that had 190 units, and if I didn't know each one of those, the people that lived behind those doors intimately, I knew them. Okay. Today, I know the folks in the house on the left and the right, couple in front, but not 3 or 4 blocks down.
No.
I don't know them. You know, so community is broken down in a way where that if we don't figure out how to get that back on track, we're going to keep losing people. And it sounds like you folks are in the community building and fortification, dare I say, business.
Right.
You know, to keep families intact, to keep friends together, while at the same time saying you could be self-sufficient. And you know what? So for folks like yourself and myself who have basically been self-reliant or self-sufficient for most of our adult lives, there are a lot of people that don't know how to do that.
It's true.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It really is, because you've heard of being institutionalized. There are guys that have been in prison for so long that when they get out, it's like this big mystery, you know?
Right.
And understandably, if you went in, say you went to jail in the 60s and you come out now.
Yeah. It's a different world.
Oh, it's a crazy different world.
It's like alien. It's one of those sci-fis.
Being on another planet.
Absolutely.
Everything has changed. Everything moves so fast.
And that's why they almost want to go back. I mean, that's what people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. People would tell me in treatment, they'd say, I'm more comfortable in. I go there, you know, in the winter months, and they're comfortable there.
Right. And it's not necessarily. And people say, well, they're lazy, or it's not necessarily that. It's that just that whole thing about being self-sufficient and self-reliant is something that either they can't do or don't know how to do.
Don't know how to do.
Okay.
And that's what they need. Those skills.
How many kids have you come across in this business that live on the streets? Do you have come across a large homeless population of youth?
So well, because these kids have been homeless, you know, and in motels. I mean, motel living is horrible, not as bad as on the street. But we don't see a lot of the youth from the street as much as, and we know they're there, absolutely, but families that have really lived in their car for a long time. because the woman had a job but was laid off. I mean, a fairly good job, but lost. Single parent, you know, that's most of the country really at this point. And the mom.
Yeah, I grew up in a single parent household. That's right.
Exactly. I was as well.
Right.
And if you know, all of us are just a step away from that, and they never expecting to be homeless, and then coming in and saying, I need help. And you know, so we see a lot of that, as well as people that really have you know, just been marginalized for most of their life.
And it happens so quick too.
So
it happens. So one or two things, and don't add a health problem to it.
Exactly.
It happens so quick, and before you know it, boom, you're in a world of hurt. You know? So to be the richest nation on the planet, so they say, really, guys, we got to figure this out.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. Yeah.
So listen, we're just about out of time. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you, or get in touch with your organization if they want more knowledge about what you do, or how they can help.
Sure. So it's stmarycenter.org. We have a website, and I invite you to go there. It talks about the various programs. It talks about opportunities for, you know, oftentimes, you know, we have these different bracelets that we sell, you know, legacy bracelets, how to support the program. It's really nice, actually. And how to get involved. And we would, you know, give us a call. Our main number is 617-436-8600. Of course, anyone that does come to work with us, we really do have to do Corey and Sori and so forth. I mean, that's, you know, so that's a process. But it's a wonderful place. We actually have an emergency shelter for abused, neglected children that's run by DCF.
No kidding.
It is I think one of the only ones at age 0 to 12. So right now we have, you know, we have several kids in their failure to thrive, really abused and neglected. So if, you know, donations to buy new mattresses, or, you know, and things like that is always helpful. You know, we just that's a tough place.
Well, thanks for coming on and talking to us about this. I mean, you guys are doing yeoman's work over there, and we really appreciate
it's the staff,
it. And speaking for the Sheriff's Department, we absolutely appreciate it, because you're giving the folks that help and that hope that they need, and that will hopefully keep them out of our facility, and that's what we'd like to see. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Sheriff.
And we'd love to have you back in the spring sometime and talk about some of the things that you're doing.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, folks, look, that's our show for today. It's been a stone cold blast. I've had such a charge talking to both of our guests today. We're out of time. We're out of here, and we'll be back again next week. So until then, you take care of yourself. We'll see you soon.